this not the moment where I go, I was wrong to feel that way?
That's exactly where the issue is, right? There are feelings and there are thoughts. Your feelings about feeling bad are okay.
I love this video because it shows you, they are showing you a moment of process. And this moment of process is so engaging. I think a lot of people are taking it as this like argument, but it isn't argument, it's passion, right? Because they are unpacking a moment in this film, right? They're in the process of filming, and the actor comes and like is asking questions because he has a perspective from that of the character, right? And so maybe, you know, we're like, we start off in the middle of it, so we don't really know what kicked off like the question, but the fact is that the actor has a question and the director is walking him through the process of it, right? Both emotionally and through thought, right? He says it's both, it's thought and feeling, it's how you feel about your thoughts, right? And that's like at the core of the human experience, and that's what makes Superman special, because he is able to connect to the humanity of, you know, of himself, his own humanity. He can connect to his own humanity. And so he's expressing that in this moment. And it's such a beautiful moment between these two people. And I can see how people who don't normally exist in rehearsal could see this as a moment of like an argument, but it's not. It's a moment of these two people sharing something, you know, that they're both passionate about and coming from not necessarily two different perspectives, but rather one coming from a very specific perspective, the actor, and the other one clarifying so that the choice could be made stronger. So it is a moment of passion. They are both passionate and to get something through. And I've done the same thing. You know, you take a moment to unpack what is going on in the scene, right? Like, what is it that your character wants? What is it at the core that's driving your character in this moment? Why does he speak the words that he's speaking? And all of that, yes, there's heightened emotion, but it's heightened emotion coming from passion, trying to get through to the actor, which, you know, he's not trying very hard because the other guy's like, yeah, okay, got it. You know, they're very copacetic in the way that they work together. And so I find it to be a very beautiful moment and very indicative of what the rehearsal process is like. Now, I will say that something when I was younger, that because I came up in this form of process, right? I came up in this form of process. And what was interesting when I entered, because I came up through indie theater, right? Like I came up through Latino theater. I came up through like, you know, theater in New York City, the New York City scene, which has a very, you know, a thriving indie theater scene. And because these are people that are working at the very edges of the form of theater, they are going to, their process is going to be slightly different than in professional theater. And I think some of the things that I like kind of was taken aback by the professional theater scene, especially in regional theater, was that you just follow the direction. You don't unpack the moment. And some of that has to do with, you know, how fast theater is like, you know. But at the end of the day, I'm going to be honest, that I don't think that leads to good theater. I think a good theater director, regardless, because I've seen amazing theater directors, both in the professional theater and in indie theater scene. And I have seen that like really great directors unpack the moment. And because I was trained and I worked, you know, as like a young artist in that process, I also kind of follow that process. When you're obviously it doesn't happen every single, moment, but there are moments when the actor isn't quite getting it, and you're having to unpack that moment, and you're having to, like, and sometimes you use your own personal experience, but also, like, what are your thoughts? And so it's process that is melded together. And I think a lot of actor training programs nowadays does not invite that into the process of actor training, which is so unfortunate, and it is so sad, because actors are not puppets. Actors are part of the process, and they come with their own, or ideally you should come with your own ideas about the character. Obviously the director is king, or the director is, like, we use the metaphor of, like, he or she is the captain of the ship, right? And so it needs to coincide and align with that. But you will see that really great directors will unpack the moment, like James Gunn just did for David. I don't know his whole name. I'm pretty sure it's David. And David, like, showed such a great, like, so much passion for his character. And it truly is like that in really great rehearsal rooms, and really, especially when we come together in the arts as collaborators, rather than, I am going to give you a direction, and you're just going to take it and not ask for anything, ask why, or, like, unpack, like, what was it about my choice that wasn't quite, and then we unpack the moment, right? Because I'm making one choice as an actor, but it isn't quite there. Why? And the thing is that actors need to know why. Sometimes they do need to know why, so that they can course correct. Until they don't understand the choice you're giving them, the direction you're giving them, they cannot embody that choice. And so it is unfortunate that so much of theater is just, you puppet, me give you direction, instead of a collaborative process. And you will see that the best theater is always a collaborative process between director and actor, and all these things. And yes, so much of it is about ego, which I'm going to tell you, I'll be honest, I see none in that room, which is so amazing, because there are so many rehearsal rooms and productions where the ego reigns supreme, and it really messes up with a process, and it really messes up with the final production. And it's really unfortunate, because we can come together as collaborators, all adding our special sauce, and the unity of these disparate parts create something so much better rather than I give you direction and you just take it. Anyway, I loved this thing between them. It was beautiful, and I hope to see so much more from, I'm looking forward to the film. All right, bye.